What's up, everybody? I hope y'all are having a wonderful day. I'm Anthony. On today's video, we are going to talk about how to make your very own hamburger buns from scratch. Stay tuned. Now, for the purpose of this video, I'm going to show you how to make hamburger buns, but just know that hamburger buns and rolls are almost the exact same thing. Just know that if you're going to be making dinner rolls, you're going to want to make them smaller. So instead of 8 hamburger buns, you're going to want to make 16, all right? Cut them in half. That way they can be a little bit smaller, but everything else is the exact same. Enjoy. All right, first you're going to need a scale, one capable of going to grams. Then you're going to need a smaller mixing bowl for your wet ingredients and a large mixing bowl for your dry ingredients. To that small bowl, you're going to add 45 grams of butter, and then you're going to zero it out and put in 320 grams of warm water. Now, one of the dry ingredients, we're going to add 500 grams of a strong white bread flour. Then we're going to do 8 grams of a table salt. Then to that, you're going to add 10 grams of a sugar. Then a full packet of Fleishmann's active dry yeast. It's about 21 grams worth. Mix it all around, then make a little well in the center so you can pour your wet ingredients in. Alright, so now we're moving on to the mixing and kneading part. You're going to get a plastic dough scraper and mix all that wet stuff and dry stuff together. Chop it together. I'm speeding it up, obviously, but yeah, that's all you're doing. Is you're chopping it together before you turn it out onto the bench, your work surface. Scrape everything out of the bowl, and then you're going to get to your hands, alright? When you get to your hands, you're going to make sure that everything's kind of mixed together so you don't have any clumps of flour or clumps of really wet stuff. Once you get to that point, then you're going to get into kneading, alright? Kneading scares a lot of people, but I'm here to break it down for you because I want to make sure that everybody can do this, alright? It does not take rocket science, and you do not need a mixer. All you do is you take the heel of your hand and you are pushing the dough. That's it. Take the heel, push, roll it up, turn it 90 degrees, alright? Heel of the hand, push it, roll it back, turn it 90 degrees. That's all this is, okay? I know a lot of people make this like super scary or whatever, but when it comes down to it, all kneading is a push, roll, turn. Push, roll, turn. To the point where when you do this, quickly, even the camera sped up, you can't even really see it because you're so good at doing this, it just happens naturally, all right? You're gonna do this for about 6, 8, 10 minutes, depending on how good you are, your skill level. For me, it takes about 8 minutes. Okay, you're going to get past that 8-minute mark, and then it's going to go from a very sticky mess to a semi-sticky, nice, firm ball. When it gets to that point, you want to put it down to rest for about a minute. All right, so just after even 1 minute of letting it rest, you're going to notice that ball goes from a firm, semi-sticky ball to a nice, silky, soft ball of dough. You're going to use your bench scraper to scrape it off of whatever work surface you're using, and you're going to put it right back into that mixing bowl you had. Don't worry about cleaning it out or even greasing it up. Just put it right back in there and cover it up with a towel to let it rest for about an hour. Now, after about an hour, that dough should have definitely increased in size. I'm not going to say double, but it definitely should see a size increase. Now, you're going to turn that dough out onto the work surface without flouring it, no flour, and you're just going to use your dough scraper to scrape it out from the inside of the bowl onto your work surface. All right, when it gets down there, I know it's gonna be kind of tough because it's not floured, but you're gonna want to move it to the center frame of the camera. Just kidding. But yeah, you're gonna want to move it so you can cut it up. All right, so now comes the hard part. We're going to take our dough scraper and we're going to cut the dough into 8 individual pieces. Now, by doing this, we are going to be making 8 hamburger buns. That's the whole goal here. We are going to cut it. So for me, if you cut it in half first and then cut that half into 4 equal sections, it's a lot easier to get the same dimensions. Now, if you really wanted to, you could absolutely weigh them, but for me, I just eyeball it because I've been doing this long enough to where I can usually get pretty close. So once you get into your 8 separate sections, you want to put them off to the side. That way you can work individually one by one. Now you take that one piece and you are going to stretch it out, not flatten it, and then you are going to fold it in on itself. That's why we're not using flour, because flour will make it so this doesn't stick. You want it to stick to each other. You're going to fold it in on itself, keeping the seam side down, all right? You want the seam side on the work surface. Now you're going to make your hand into a C, keeping your 3 fingers and thumb onto the workbench, and you are going to keep your index finger up while making semicircles with your hand in a counterclockwise motion. Now, by doing this, you are going to keep surface tension while allowing the dough ball itself to spin in a clockwise motion. This allows the surface tension to build without pulling apart the seam. Since you don't have any flour on your work surface, you don't have to worry about spreading the dough apart. All you're doing is you're basically tightening the dough in on itself over and over and over again. This is going to take some practice, but once you get it one time, you got it forever. Now you're going to take all those and you're going to put them onto your sheet, your baking sheet. You're going to put some parchment paper down. You're going to put all 8. Doesn't really matter how far apart because they're all going to swell together when it comes to proofing, and you're going to cover it up with a towel. Now you're going to take it and you're going to preheat your oven to about 375. While you're doing that, you're going to fill the pan up with water. Now you're going to take that pan of water and you're going to put it on the second or bottom shelf of your oven. The whole purpose is to make sure you're building humidity and steam inside the oven. That's it. So while it's preheating, you put this in there. That way you can build humidity, because humidity is going to make a very light crust. Alright, so after about a half an hour proof, they look like this. Then I put them in a 375 degree oven for about 20 minutes. They look like that. So yeah, perfect. On a cooling rack for about half an hour till they cool down. Once they're cool enough to touch, you can go ahead and start cutting into them. Now, if you don't have a bread knife, I highly suggest you getting one, because it makes all the difference in the world. I've already done a video on that. I'll put it down in the description. But yeah, look how great these look. The crumbs look great. Thickness feels great. And I have to admit, this is one of my better batches, because when you cut through them, they are just so soft all the way through. There's no hard spots. It's just perfect. So as you can see, those turned out amazingly. The whole family loves them. Everybody's always been asking me, hey, show me your recipe. How do you do this? And they keep asking me over and over and over again. And I keep telling them, I'm going to do a video eventually. Well, I finally did one. Hope you enjoyed it. But I want to go ahead and add 2 things before I cut the video. Number 1, this is one of those recipes that seems very, very simple, but it's not super easy to do in terms of technique. So if you are going to be jumping into baking breads for the first time, please don't start with this recipe. I'll go ahead and add one up here for my sandwich bread recipe, so you can actually see how I do things from start to finish. And maybe once you do that a few times to get your technique down, understand how the dough is supposed to feel, then you could jump into something a little bit more intermediate like this recipe. All right, this is not for like hardcore beginners, because again, this is going to be taking a lot more technique into actually making it, and if you don't have that basis, you might struggle. Number 2, this is one of those recipes that seems very, very simple, but it is so effective. It's crazy how much difference a homemade bun can make versus a store-bought counterpart. My wife tells me regularly. Now, she's had my sourdough, my sandwich bread, focaccia, pizza dough, all kinds of different stuff, because I make all this stuff and she's my guinea pig. And she tells me regularly that this is her favorite recipe of mine. It's very simple, but it's her favorite because I think because it kind of enhances the flavor of everything else. And you really don't think about it. So that's kind of one of the things I wanted to add to the video. Maybe, hey, if you spend a whole bunch of time making that perfect burger or perfect chicken sandwich or whatever, egg salad, you do all this effort, maybe you should consider putting that towards the, bread as well, because it is 50% of the bite. So if you want to, up your game to maybe that next level, consider making your own homemade bread or homemade hamburger buns. That's why I want to do this recipe and put it here on YouTube. I'm going to go ahead and end the video there. If you like this video at all, please do me a humongous favor and give me a thumbs up. It absolutely helps me out, and I would very much appreciate it. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Share the video with someone who you think might appreciate it, and I will catch y'all in the next one. All right, bye.